Welcome, everybody. Caleb Nelson, I'm with Sifted. This is our really our live demo session that we run on a monthly basis to give everybody a good understanding of what we do and give you a good feel for the Sifted software. We've got a number of individuals that are popping in. Thank you, everybody, for giving up some time. I'm excited to show you guys what the hype is all about here at Sifted. I think this is a great way for you to get a feel for what we do. Honestly, we want to jump right into it. So I've included two links and I've sent that out to everybody. The first link is really to subscribe to our unboxed Parcel industry news. Sifted has an ability to see vast amounts of data, specific parcel data. We've got a very good pulse on what's happening on the industry. And that Unboxed is a phenomenal resource for you to get industry news straight to your inbox. That's kind of curated specific for the parcel industry. The second is a link to our calendars. If you want to see more information here about what we do and have a personalized phone call with us, click on that Calendly link and we'll get a time set up and we'll get it kicked off. I encourage everybody here that is on the call to ask questions. I think the best thing that we can do is make this as meaningful as possible for everybody. And the best way you can do that is just in the Q&A section in your Zoom link, ask away. I'll stop and periodically just refer to that Q&A section for any questions you might have. But if we are, I think we're ready to rock. I've shared my screen. I'm going to go through just a couple different items, but we're going to spend the majority of our time in the Sifted software, exactly what you signed up to view. Really at the top of it, the parcel industry is changing rapidly. I think we've got a number of major challenges that shippers are going to be facing in the summer. You've got UPS and a possible strike situation happening with the end of their Teamster agreement, which is taking place at the end of July. FedEx is capitalizing on that right now, and they're actually putting ad campaigns out, letting UPS customers know that if you should have a backup plan by March 31st, otherwise FedEx won't be able to service your account. Some really interesting things that are taking place right now. I'm going to look to the Q&A section right now. If anybody has any questions about what they're seeing in the marketplace, what their reps are telling them, specific to FedEx and UPS, what are the challenges they're facing, drop them in the Q&A and we'll chat about it. But I think the biggest issues right now is you've got FedEx really stealing volume away from UPS, and they're drumming up this kind of fear cycle on UPS with a possible strike scenario. There's also major GRIs that took place this year, I think the largest in history, at a 6.9 on average. We're also seeing Amazon potentially coming in and competing against FedEx and UPS with their Buy with Prime program, and Amazon really matching FedEx and UPS's Air Network Hub kind of scenario that they've got. Before I dive into the software and talk about Sifted, does anybody have any questions on what they're seeing from an industry perspective, and we can jump on it? Okay, I'll keep my eye on this Q&A section here. If anything pops up, I'll stop and we'll go through it. If we start from the top on what and who is Sifted. Oh, I've got a question from Randall. Says, where does DHL fit into the playing field? That's a really great question. DHL obviously competed against FedEx and UPS, or tried to, in the early 2000s and failed miserably. Since then, they've retracted into being international predominantly only on their DHL Express side. However, their DHL Ecom, which is their shared work program that they have with the USPS, has taken off. A lot of businesses have found that to be a useful program. For shipments, I would say under 5 pounds that you don't mind sitting in transit for a little bit longer. DHL will do a portion of the delivery and inject it into USPS's network. And it's been a good option. We capture all of that data too, so it's pretty interesting. Anonymous says freight orders slowed down. Absolutely. We're seeing that in our data as well. People are saying that this is an economic slowdown. It very well could be, but we're seeing it more of a normalization from post-COVID. After COVID, or before COVID, e-commerce growth was through the roof. COVID put it on steroids, and we're seeing some normalization happen after that. Okay, so if we start here, who is Sifted and what do we do? Sifted takes complex data and simplifies it in a nutshell for you to be able to make better decisions to lower cost and avoid self-inflicted pain that might be happening in your business you might not know of. The secret or trick to that is really found in your data. So we absorb your carrier data with FedEx or UPS or DHL or other carriers you might have. We haven't even talked about the regional carriers that make a play here. We're looking for speed and efficiency. So how can you get your shipments to your customers faster for less money? How can you have some cost mitigation or cost reduction? And really, how do your rates stack up? Sifted has a unique position to look at what the market is doing from a holistic standpoint using data. So there's some really cool things that we can do from a, how am I stacked up against other shippers similar in size? Jumping into the software, we're going to be looking at insights and alerts, which is really our Sifted score, and I'll dive into that. We're going to get into how to view your data in the best way so that you can look for those self-inflicted pain that you might not be aware that's happening. I think a lot of shippers have this gut feeling that something's costing them money, but they might not know where to look. We're going to be looking at some examples of what typical shippers should be looking at when they're identifying their own data to avoid some of those mistakes. And then we're going to get more complicated into some of the complex modeling. At least it's complex if you try to build it on your own. Sifted has taken a very turnkey approach to build some of these complex models, but injecting your own data, we've really simplified it to make it really easy. And some of those models are proposal simulations. So FedEx or UPS gives you a new contract. And network optimization, even to package level and package size optimization. So really cool things that we do here at Sifted. I'll pause here and pull up our dashboards. And while I do that, we've got a question here. First question is roughly, what have you seen is the percentage increase in delivery timing between DHL and FedEx and UPS? Amazon effect has a big impact on customer expectations. That's a great question, and we'll dive into that. As far as tracking on-time delivery performance from FedEx and UPS. UPS has fared better, I would say, than FedEx has over the last 12 months. There was a rough patch where FedEx was going through a 70% on-time delivery percentage, which is completely unacceptable. Basically, at the height of FedEx's issues, you gave them a shipment, they had a 30% chance of getting it late. When the carriers were operating in the low 90s before, that was a major hit. FedEx has made some major, I would say, adjustments to that and got it in a more acceptable spot. But you're correct in that Amazon has 100% given that Amazon effect experience to FedEx and UPS, and it's put pressure on FedEx and UPS. Shippers who are not getting the service that they need from those carriers are in a great position to renegotiate. This used to be a carrier's network or carrier's, I would say, world in the last 2 years. It's now shifting into a shipper's world where you can negotiate much stronger than you've been able to in the past. And you need golden nuggets found in your data in order to be able to do that. So another question says, Sifted modeling solutions that allows for me to ingest data and associated outputs. Yeah, let's dive into that. I think there's some really cool things here. The first thing that we typically will start with is a question I get often asked at the very beginning. How do I get my data in your system? We have some customers on this call that have not connected their data to the system, and they need to understand how easy it is to do it. We call it 30 seconds easy. We send you this specific link. All you need to do is with your UPS online account for ups.com or fedex.com, you sign into your FedEx or ups.com accounts. As long as it's the admin user, you sign into it with this link here, and the system automatically pulls your data. That is all you need to do. Sign into it with your UPS credentials, your FedEx credentials, and our system will take it from there. The coolest part about what we do, in my opinion, is once we have your data, we score it. This is like benchmarking, which is found in the industry, but on steroids. So there is some really cool things. So once you link your data to our system, we download all the necessary billing files. FedEx allows for us to go back 6 months of historical data. UPS is actually 12 months. And what this does is allows for us to look at how you compare against shippers similar in size to you, which answers that age-old question of, how do I know if my rates are any good? Or how do I know if I'm making right decisions? FedEx and UPS will only allow you to see your own data. Sifted allows for you to be able to see anonymized data next to yours, so you can be able to identify, am I doing things correctly? So really cool things that we can do here. But the best thing I think about the software right from the onset here is it scores it with a very familiar score. We're all familiar with the credit score. This is a credit score for your parcel shipping. And what it's doing is it's looking at 6 key metrics that makes up your Sifted score. The first 3 are done externally with your partner carriers, FedEx and UPS. So this is what your contract looks like compared to everybody else in a similar category. This is what your accessorial fees look like, which is where the carriers are getting very, I would say, creative, is on the fees. If you were to ask FedEx or UPS, hey, my discounts, how do they compare? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to tell you they're the best, right? You've negotiated the best contract, you've negotiated the best discounts on fees, and their performance is stellar. But when you can't see the bigger picture, how can you be able to truly answer that? And this is what the software does right from the get-go. I'll pause here, and then I'm going to get into operational self-inflicted pain and how we score that out. Does anybody have any questions about what we're seeing so far? Okay, let's get into the operational. These next 3 categories that make up your Sifted score are what's happening in the 4 corners of your business. So we're looking at decisions that are being made internally by your team. So service level score, am I using the right carriers in the right ways? Distribution score, am I shipping from the right locations to reach my customers faster for less money? Basically, if you're sending a lot of cross country, how can you be able to optimize that to reduce your cost and get it to your customer faster? And then operational, am I having a number of shipments that are being dimensionalized or dimmed out? Do I have late payments? What do my returns look like? All of that impacts your score. Okay, so we've got another question that says, how's the scoring decided? Is it for relative comparisons only? For the majority of it, yes. We're not going to compare you to a Walmart or to a Target if you're a $500,000 shipper with Amazon or with FedEx. We're going to score you with other shippers that are similar in size to make sure that you are really making corrective action and that it is doable. We're not going to show you that you can get discounts when those discounts are really only provided to bigger shippers. So there's a lot of logic that happens within the scoring system here, but This is the brain that tells you what's broken and allows you to be able to say, I only want to spend my time fixing what needs to be fixed. We call it, let's fish where the fish are. Your parcel data is so complicated that without a scoring system to point you in that right direction, you're going to be spending a lot of time in Excel to try to massage the data, to look for what's even like hours to spend on just manipulating or massaging the data to figure out, okay, how do I look at the data in the right way before I find out what's broken? Once we provide you with what your score looks like and what needs to be improved, you have abilities to dive deeper. So if we're starting at the top, the sifted score is the biggest, most kind of guide, and then we can dive further and further into more granular details to give you answers and corrective action. So the overview dashboard is that next step. It gives you your trend over the last 30 days, if you're trending up or down, your average cost per shipment, your average cost per pound trending, and your accessorial trend. I mean, look at that accessorial trend over the last 30 days on this example. It's up 202%. The carriers, FedEx and UPS, have gotten very creative, and I'm using that word with air quotes, gotten very creative on maximizing their own margins on your account without violating your contract. Your contract or agreement with them, they are allowed to tweak ways in which the logic of how fees get applied or the dollar amount behind the fees. What they're not allowed to do is change your discount percentages, but they can change what your discount percentage is based off of. And they do it frequently and very aggressively. This helps you to determine where they're changing it and what you can do about it. So let's say you notice that your average cost per pack is increasing. This next dashboard allows you to drill down and identify which areas in your service level is it increasing by. So you have your average cost per pack trend comparing this month over last month over last year, allowing you to be able to see what that increase looks like. So if I look at my 2-day on this model, I noticed for last year, and this is dummy data, so it's got 2022 in here, but in 2022, my increase was $92.51 on 2-day, where that same service level in the previous year was $62. I'm seeing a massive increase in those areas. This allows for me to have those golden nuggets so that I can have proper conversations with my partner carriers, with those reps, to say, I need better discounts in these specific areas. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on fees. This is a question we get asked frequently. There's over 150 accessorial charges out there and a crazy amount of logic on which fees get tagged on which shipments. Our system goes through and analyzes those fees and shows them back to you in ways for you to be able to say, these fees are negotiable. These fees are avoidable. These are self-inflicted fees. So I'll give you an example here. Overmax. These are shipments that should not be going FedEx or UPS that are too large. FedEx and UPS won't tell you that. They're just going to charge you through the nose for it. In fact, in these categories here, I can scroll down and say, look, I want to see every shipment that makes up those overmax charges because those overmax charges are painful. I can right click on any component to the dashboard and have access to package level detail. So each step, we're getting more and more granular to fix the problem and to know specifically what the issue is. So anonymous question comes in is, may have missed it, but how does it pick up accessorial details? When we pull in your data through your FedEx or UPS account, our system automatically buckets and normalizes those fees. So I'll give you an example. Additional handling is called two different things for FedEx or UPS. Our logic and our system categorizes those two individual charges from FedEx and UPS and buckets them in the same category. So you can look at your holistic, if you're using multiple carriers, additional handling between FedEx and UPS, or residential delivery. You can see it, how it's trending over time. And if you want to drill down into any specific level detail, you can see each shipment that makes up those fees. So here's every single time I was charged overmax, which is FedEx or UPS saying, these are big shipments, we don't want them, but we'll bill you $920 to take them. I've got them here. I can export this into an Excel or a CSV file format, and I'm off to the races to give that to my team to make corrective action. It's pretty cool technology that really allows you to see more detail in what is normally complicated information or thousands of line items on an invoice. Any other questions on fees before we move on to, okay, if I see these fees increasing, what can I do about them? We're going to get into modeling next. Okay. Our next categories really get into, and we can, by the way, we can pull any report that we want at package level detail. We can select any column that we're looking for in that group data that we get from FedEx or UPS. Then you can filter out anything you don't want to see. So if you want to see specific carriers only, if you want to see specific account numbers only, if you want to see any date range or build weight or any service level, pretty much any way you can splice the data, it allows you to go through it, apply it, and run reports on a regular basis. It's really helpful for accounting departments in order to pay invoices faster so you don't get late payment fees. There's a reason why our name is Sifted. Basically help you sift through that data faster so that you can get to what you need to get to and make the corrective action you need to make. You can save any of those reports and just rerun them on a weekly basis as you see fit. But this is a really cool feature that gets to package level detail that a lot of shippers need. Okay, if we shift gears and get into what happens when, or what can I do about these increases? Sifted isn't just a repository for your data. Sifted allows for you to be able to play in a sandbox-like environment using all of your historical data in new what-if ways. So this example that you're seeing on your screen here is your top 10 most impacted packages that are being dimmed out, that are costing you the most amount of money. We have a lot of shippers that say, look, I think I can get this SKU into a smaller box, or maybe it would be cheaper if I take this SKU and instead of getting into a smaller box, maybe I can divide it into 2 boxes. People often think that if you ship more boxes with the carrier, it's going to cost you more. It's not oftentimes the case. And the software allows you to re-rate those boxes, all of those historical shipments, in new what-if ways. So if I take this box, it's 75 by 33 by 3, and I know I can fit it into a smaller box size, the system is automatically using the same technology FedEx and UPS use to re-rate those packages and to show you specifically what the impact would be if you made that change. So I know if I make this change, I'm going to save $163 per package. It's a ridiculous amount of cost savings there. Or if I can't get it into a smaller box, but I can take that product and just split it into 2 boxes, it allows me to be able to model that out and know I've got options here, and I can split it. This way, I am making those actions or corrective actions virtually and I'll know down to the exact penny amount that it's going to save me before I go and implement it with my team. Oftentimes, what we talk to shippers all day that say, look, I know that these changes exist that I should be making, but I need concrete evidence to go to my team members and say, this is worth spending our time. Other avenues on the modeling side is really in distribution modeling. So if you have one location or two locations you're shipping from, and you want to reach 98% of the United States within a 2-day transit time and not pay for express services, how do you do that? Our software will look at every single shipment that you've sent out, color code it by your top zones, and then allow for you to be able to select any location that you want to drop a new potential ship from location in, and watch as the system re-rates every package. So if I have a distribution center in Louisville and I added one virtually in Salt Lake City, software's automatically done the split for me and told me this one change of adding a new location is going to save me $500,000, and it's going to get to my customer twice as fast. Reduces that transit time from 3.2 days down to 1.9 days. That's a difference of 1.3 days. Really cool. And I would say if you try to build these models on your own, they are super complicated. We have nailed this turnkey model. We do it for box sizes. We do it for distribution, network optimization. We even do it for contracts. So if FedEx or UPS slides a new proposal across the table to you, it's really difficult to take all of your old data or old shipments and re-rate it under that new contract to find out what it's going to save you or cost you. FedEx or UPS might say, this will save you 3% or 5% or 10%. That's not oftentimes the case. Oftentimes we'll re-rate those shipments and it will be a cost increase, not a cost decrease. So this allows for you to drop your new proposals into the rating engine here. You can review pricing. Sifted will utilize all the data we have and give you not just what that new proposal is coming back at, but it's telling you what your targets should be. So here is the proposal, but your target should be here. This is extremely important to go into a negotiation with FedEx and UPS, knowing what the finish line should be. I'm going to turn it over to Q&A and look to you. We're coming right up on time. It's a lot of information we went over. But does anybody have any questions on modeling? There's a lot of different categories we can do, and we could spend maybe a couple hours on what we can do on the modeling capabilities. But does anybody have any questions on how you use some of those turnkey models to improve bottom line costs and your client experience? Okay, so as a recap, we have taken your raw parcel data from FedEx and UPS. We provided a sifted score associated to it, allowing you to be able to fish where the fish are, getting more granular into trending and what's being changed at what times with FedEx and UPS in your contract, getting access to package level detail in areas that really matter to you and that's causing you pain, making corrective action, and modeling out different scenarios so that you can be able to say, what if I change this and what's worth my time? Ultimately, Sifted wants to make you look like a rock star in your organization and give you the tools necessary in order to be able to be, I would say, the best shipper that you possibly can be. We talked at the very beginning that this has been a carrier's market. FedEx and UPS have been in control. As package volumes start to normalize, you have more control than you realize. But that control won't come back to you automatically. The pendulum is swinging in favor of the shippers, but you have to take initial momentum with dealing with FedEx and UPS and having unemotional conversations with them. Gone are the days where you can say, hey, give me what I want, or I'm going to pull my business and give it to this other carrier. They don't care about that anymore. It needs to be focused on data. It needs to be focused on, I need this because this has been done previously. Okay, we've got a question that comes up. Do you have any pharmacies using this software? Yeah, a lot of pharmaceutical companies utilize Sifted. We tend to lend ourselves to some of the bigger shippers out there because we can get to, I would say, more complex areas. And I would say that the audit of looking for late, lost, damaged, stolen, misbilled shipments, that's low-hanging fruit, and most shippers have that. People utilize Sifted to get the fruit that's higher up on the tree that's really kind of harder to reach. And you can't get it without utilizing some of this software here. What if I currently use a 3PL only as a discount service, not LTL, etc.? If you can get access to that FedEx and UPS data, we can bring that information in here. Likewise, we also can bring in LTL. You brought up not LTL, but for anybody else who's listening in here, we can bring up LTL in our specific LTL dashboards as well. But if you have access to FedEx and UPS, we can bring that data in. And if you have additional questions on, how your data is set up today and can it fit into our software, click on that link in the chat window, schedule a time with us, and we'll have a personalized kind of one-on-one session with you, review the data and determine if we can help you or not. Does it integrate into WMS or TMS systems? That's a really great question. We sit at the end of it. So most people use our software to help implement better logic into their WMS or TMS systems. So this is the improvement software that you're looking at here. And this gives you a better idea of what do I need to change in my WMS or TMS system to take advantage. Okay, can I get a copy of this recording? Absolutely. Everybody who's registered is going to get a copy of the recording once the recording has been completed, and you can share it with any team members. Again, it's more powerful to see your own data in the system. So we do a free proof of concept for any shipper that's spending more than $250,000 with FedEx and UPS, where you can load in your data and we will, for free, give you a sifted score and tell you specifically what's working and what's not working to determine, do you even need to look at this? It's a great way to determine, should I have budget for this? And is it worth it? And we'll give you a dollar amount of what we can see in terms of if you take advantage of this, this is how much cost savings you'll end up with. Again, getting data into our network and system is very simple. So that proof of concept is super easy. Click that link, schedule a time with us. We can send you this secure link here. And on your first call with us, we can have data pulled and ready to go and review your data in our system free of charge. It's a great kind of first way to get started. Anybody have any other questions? This has been we've had a lot of participation. This has been great. I'm going to hang around for the next couple of minutes. Ping me, ask me questions. I'm here to help out. If not, go to that chat window, click some time and register with us to have a one-on-one with one of our talented marketing individuals. Randall, nice job. Thank you. Appreciate it. By the way, that unboxed newsletter, killer content. This industry is changing so much, and our marketing team does a phenomenal job putting some of that information together.